All right, ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. Hi, welcome to the Progressive Perspective. Tonight we're talking about whether or not it's good for the progressives to try to force a vote on Medicare for All in the House at Nancy Pelosi's expense. I'm joined by Kurt, Larry, and Colin, who's taking a dip. So I'm going to be
There he is.
straight. I'm not sure if I want to force a vote for Medicare for All, but I am in favor of pissing off Nancy Pelosi. I think progressives should be more comfortable with challenging Democratic power and Democratic leadership. I'm in favor of a hostile takeover. I'm in favor of going up and smacking them in the beak politically. Nancy Pelosi's favorability rating right now is below Donald Trump's. I don't know how that happened. And we're afraid to take her on? What the hell? Like, strategically, I don't know if it's the best move, but it feels right in my heart, and I want to do it.
I think I agree almost with everything you said there. There is a slim margin, with losing those 5 votes or those 5 seats. It's slim, but we still have leverage. And to like AOC's response of, well, what's step 2? Well, we figured that out after step 1. We know, we were talking earlier, the Koch brothers paid for that deal where they investigated how much it would cost to have Medicare for All. And in 10 years, we save money. And with the money left over, we could still pay the medical workers, unemployment while they are looking for new jobs or beyond unemployment wages. So I'm not concerned about step 2. And to the notion that if we lose, well, then what? It's like, well, in my heart, what other hill is better to die on than Medicare for All during a pandemic? Yeah. So it's like, it's a game of risk, but I think it's worth taking.
Larry, Colin, you have anything to add before I jump in?
Yeah. So like I'm thinking in terms of chess. I know that change is slow moving, and I know gathering support is nationwide is a big thing to pressure something as big as Medicare for All to pressure politicians. It requires a lot of organizing and a lot of years and a lot of paperwork and a lot of just pushing, push. And the ideal situation for Medicare for All to go to start in the House, a House vote, that would be a Democratic-controlled House, a Democratic-controlled Senate, and a Democratic president. Now, if we pushed a Medicare for All vote during that time when we have a majority House, majority Senate, and a Democratic president.
We've essentially just won.
Yeah, just one. And that way, when you leverage it, then you could draw your lines in the sand and see, then you could really start to battle of which Democrats are for this, which ones are against it, and then how can we push the ideal situation. That would be the ideal situation. And so, but I understand that these circumstances of right now they don't happen very often to where progressive have the leverage. You know what I mean? These opportunities do not come very often where progressive has this much leverage with the House vote for Pelosi. Now, with this leverage that doesn't come around very often with a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican president, using this leverage right now, as you said, would be, speaking earlier, you said that it was just theatrics. Now, the problem, or not the problem, but there is plus sides and negatives to this theatrics. One of the plus side is you are bringing it to a national scale and bringing attention, you know what I mean? Getting media attention to a Medicare for All vote. And that could trigger organizers throughout the country to really grab hold and start pushing this, you know.
People learn about it and perhaps convert them. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it could gather support and push, and you know what I mean. It'll be an interesting starting point, but that's all it would just be an interesting starting point. And I think that the downside of with a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican president and the leverage that we have now in the House, that in the long term, I think that this could definitely hurt progressives if we shoot our load right now. I mean, like if we just take that shot, if we take that shot right now, you know what I mean? I think it could, the marathon race of progressives and people that are out there. I think this is a unique opportunity, and it's definitely should be used for collateral and leverage to certain progressive policies. But do we put all of our races into one basket right now? You know what I mean? And potentially hurt the overall momentum that we are gathering, because the momentum that we have has been gathering as progressives. And it's just like, I think that I would be hesitant to hurting the overall momentum of progressives. You know what I mean? Like, it's the only thing that I would be worried about now. And so that's, I would leave this to better and smarter people and see how it plays out. But I just don't really have enough information to buy into something like this right now. You know, it's just my only take.
So I think it is important to note that Medicare, if we, under this scenario, we force a vote for Medicare for All, its likelihood of passing the House is, I'd say more unlikely than not. There's a chance it passes the House, but that's not why that's not my reason for doing it. Even if it passed the House, it wouldn't go anywhere in the Senate. And even if it was brought up in the Senate, it'd get voted down. The reason why I want it is so we bring it up to the floor, it gets news coverage, progressives find camera anywhere they friggin' can and be like, Medicare for All is cheaper, we're in a pandemic. They just go off and they try to like smack that hornet's nest with a frickin' bat, and they just stir shit up. And I want that, like, because shit needs to be stirred up.
So, I love my brother Colin, but I have to disagree with you a little bit here. I think that it's no time at all for progressives to be shy or retiring at all, or to be depending on some kind of negotiations for some kind of future benefits from the establishment of the Democratic Party. As Basil says, we're in the middle of a pandemic that's killed 300,000 Americans. Medicare for All is the premier issue among progressives, supported by a majority of the public. I believe even somewhat of a majority of Republicans, 88% of Democrats. Hell, if you aren't going to talk about this issue and push it now, what are we waiting for? And what do we lose? What do progressives lose by standing up for the premier issue that they have run on? I don't see where we lose anything. And it wouldn't be to try to win Medicare for All, but it would be to show that progressives are bold and standing up for the issues that we believe in and that our people need. We need this. We need this. People die, not just from this pandemic, but from all other reasons. I used to be a hospital worker, and the system is horrid. We pay twice as much money as any society and get an inferior product while people are robbing us blind. It's terrible. People don't want it anymore. Progressives ran on it as a premier issue. They should stand up for it. Nancy Pelosi is our enemy, one of our enemies. Yeah. She's a representative of the ruling class.
She's
progressives have to, push. They're not going to give us anything. I just think it's a time to be bold. That, you know, there are other ideas, there's other things to push. I mean, I don't see AOC tipping her hand of what is this big negotiating leverage she's going to, what is her plan? What is she going to get? And remember, progressives have to be pushed. Progressives have been elected taking very good positions, but when it comes down to it, sometimes they vote against the interests of the people. Many times they vote against it. You know, they get pressured and go along with the mainstream of the Democratic Party. I don't want them to do that. Even if it isn't tremendously successful, I'd still be happy that they stood up and tried something. We got to try stuff. We got to do stuff. And Colin, I understand you looking at on the long game, but also how long a game do we have? As progressives, we need to start having, taking bold actions and looking for routes to have some victories. That's just the way I feel about it.
My hope would be that hopefully it passes and it would light a fire in time before the runoffs in Georgia. And maybe it would inspire a lot of people to get out more than they already have and get out that vote, because now they actually would have a chance. That's all it takes is to get that foot in the door, get some energy going, momentum. And with it that close, there's enough time where people aren't going to forget about it. It's got to be now. It feels like now or never.
Yeah. It's important to note that both of the Democratic Senate candidates in Georgia have both come out against Medicare for All, but we have to shift the Overton window. One thing, the Tea Party was a bunch of white racist punks, and that's all they were. But what they did right was they were bold enough to just stay in the room and be like, no, F you, you're coming to me, I'm not moving a single step in your direction. And what happened? People came to them. They shifted the Overton window. They shifted the topic of discussion. And I think the left could learn a lesson from that.
The right, extreme right Republicans are willing to fight. They're willing to stand up and fight for what they believe in. What they believe in may be sick and crazy, but they're willing to fight for it.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting point about the Georgia runoffs. Like with that woman, Stacey Abrams, I think the whole Biden owes her so much for flipping Georgia like she did. And not only that, but then the Native Americans of Arizona, you know what I mean, that flipped Arizona, so going to the Georgia runoff Senate races is so key, and having Medicare for All, I think, could boost enthusiasm for voter turnout for the Democrats in that state. And we've seen over and over again that progressive policies drive voter turnout, but it's not good to the bottom dollar of all these politicians that are taking money from special interest groups, you know what I mean? And so what we're seeing today is that push against are you in politics to rake money from special interest groups, or are you actually there for the people? And so and so this back to this Georgia Senate race is so pivotal to the Senate right now. Everybody's just watching Georgia, and this would definitely set Democrats so far ahead if they just took this vote. It's they're trying to win without the progressive vote or the progressive policies, which are drastically so you know what I mean? Approval rating for all of these is just ridiculously high. So I don't see why they don't align with them more,
Because they have donors, and their donors don't want them to do that.
No.
But talking about the Senate race, so let's say best case scenario, John Ossoff and Reverend what's his name, win, then the Democrats take the Senate by a very narrow margin, and we just have to pray to God that Joe Manchin is on our side every time, which most of the time he's not going to be.
Elections, do you know? What is the date of those Georgia elections?
Let me look that up real quick.
I think it's January 5th.
And there's some good indicators that it's going the Democrats' way. Apparently, some Republicans are leaving the Republican Party and forming their own, like, we're the Patriot Party.
Yeah. Well, they were saying that the first day of open voting for the 2020 presidential candidacy, they had 129,000 votes. Day one for the Senate runoff, they had 168,000 votes. So, like Lindsey Graham just said, when more people vote, the turnout changes.
That's January the 5th on a Tuesday that the Georgia runoff races are.
When is the vote for the Speaker of the House position for Pelosi likely to take place?
Yeah.
Isn't that like saying like the 6th? I think it's really close.
Yeah, somewhere early January.
So I got a question that's a little bit like on that topic. Let's say there is a vote. Who do we want in her spot? We got to think about it. Like.
So
I think honestly, Adam Schiff would be my vote. It's someone that doesn't really seem like he wants to be president in the near future, but someone that's got like prosecutor background.
Well, Nancy Pelosi is the only Democrat running for that seat, and if she doesn't win it, then Kevin McCarthy would take
is that
it.
how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's how it works, but I'm not an expert on it.
So, like, I'm not going to lie. If we try to force a vote on Medicare for All and Nancy Pelosi calls our bluff, there is a somewhat possibility that the Speaker of the House will be a Republican, but I don't think that's likely at all. Like, Pelosi would probably say, fuck it, sure, fine, I'll bring it to a vote.
I would assume.
Goddamn progressives.
Yeah. Let her talk. Let her. That's okay.
Come and see. Come.
Yeah. Beat us up. At least then we don't have to have hospital bills.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be afraid of making the Democratic establishment mad and worried that they'll do things against progressives, because they do things against us all the time anyway.
We have to scare them.
Yep.
We have to throw down the friggin' gauntlet and say, no, I'm fighting for people. I don't care about your donors. I don't care about decorum. I don't care about making you feel good. I'm fighting for people, and I'm not going to apologize. And I don't give a damn about my colleagues. My colleagues are getting us killed.
Hey, Colin, I had a question for you. You mentioned indigenous people voting in Arizona influencing the outcomes and stuff. Do you know what the voter participation rate for indigenous peoples are in the country?
Well, I know that nationally we only make up 1% of the population. So, you know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of leverage that we do have, but if you looked at the voting districts in Arizona, everywhere there was a reservation, it was blue, and then you take into Flagstaff and all these other counties that tip the scale in Arizona which is it's always been Republican, switched it to Democrat because of these reservations. And I don't know what I think the voter turnout rate for Arizona and natives was 90%. And locally we get around 50%, so like, that's what we get around here. And so and to see if you just turn out to vote, you know what I mean? Outcomes change, like what Brazel was talking about earlier. If people just turn out, outcomes change. And so they definitely prove that. And to give Joe Biden Arizona, I'm sure he wasn't expecting it at all. I wasn't even expecting it. I was just like, Arizona's always been red. It's not even been a battleground state. And they just came out of left field. And so that that was just I think that got Deb Haaland the
Yeah.
Department of Secretary of Interior just because of the native voter turnout.
Which I did not expect, but I love.
Oh my God, I damn near in tears still over that. Like, as much as I was looking through some of Joe Biden's picks, I was just disgusted with some of his picks. Deb Haaland definitely sat me down, and I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit because of that Deb Haaland pick. You know what I mean? But he's only got a small grace period because of that pick. But and then it's gonna be back to business as usual.
I'll never stop bitching about
Was it
Biden.
really smart for Biden to pull people out of the House of Representatives and put them in his government? And
It's a bit of a, like here it doesn't really matter, but here it does. Like if they're in a really blue district, it doesn't matter. So like if he went and picked like Henry Cuellar, I'd be like, I'd hate it because Cuellar is an asshole. But he's in the bluest district in Texas, so it wouldn't really matter.
Seems to me at times that type of activity can be destructive. Like I remember Arizona had a fairly decent Democratic government, Neapolitano, I think her name was, and I think Obama appointed her to a position, and then the Republicans took over the governorship of, really terrible woman ended up being governor of Arizona for a long time.
And that's kind of their.
Something that can have an effect at times.
That's kind of the reason for Elizabeth Warren not getting a cabinet spot, because like all the governor of Massachusetts is a Republican, and we don't want him to appoint a Republican senator, and Massachusetts is becoming like a little bit more of a swing state. So, I guess you don't get a cabinet pick.
Yeah, so on another little side note, I've been watching my state, great state of Minnesota, flip more and more red every presidential election. And I think one of the reasons why that is, we got to be more than just anti-Republican. You know what I mean? We got to have actually policies that people will drive the voter turnout enthusiasm and like, so like, I know that during the Iron Range, when World War II and all of that stuff, they had all these unions up there in the Iron Range, and all these were crazy unions that were Democrats. You know what I mean? And then now with the drop in unions and everything of the Iron Range, it's not producing and doing all of this, whatever like that. It's been these areas have been hit hard financially because the economics aren't pouring in from like when these unions were there. So then they start pushing a little bit more and more Republicans, and same with my county here in Mille Lacs. Like it's just been red, and I live in a red area, and the reservation here is the largest Democratic voter block in the county, and so like this is just like, but we need issues to get behind, to rally behind, like when I was doing my organizing for recovery, pushing recovery policies, I was getting Democrats and Republicans behind the mission, or behind, what I mean, the cause. And now if we can present policies like Medicare for All, or what I mean, that, and get voter turnout and get people to rally behind and organize behind these issues, we could definitely drive this party up. And so like one thing that we've seen with Democrats going farther and farther to the right, and progressives just kind of staying where they are, is starting to look crazier and crazier and crazier. But the progressive movement just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. You know what I mean? The farther that Democrats go right, the more progressive base gets larger and larger. So unless Democrats start coming to the left on some of these issues, the progressive movement is just going to continue to grow. You know what I mean? And it's just like and so I think with DSA and all these other things that people are out there organizing for, I think that there's opportunity here to really drive for change and present issues that people can get behind, and it's these progressive issues, and so like that's why I love getting involved with the DSA and really pushing that stuff out there, so that way, you know, like we can present issues that people can get behind, everyday issues, and help grow, you know what I mean, the base, you know.
So all of us here did some work for Bernie, and you know the success of Bernie's campaigns were the basic issues are now basically supported by the public. I mean, our issues are popular, so I don't think we should shy away from them. We should push them and explain to people how they would that it's absolutely possible and that they would benefit people. And yeah, I think we all know what it feels like to live in extremely red areas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of that too, you know, would go back to educating the general public, you know, because they have this, they're presented the idea of Medicare for All as this bad communist socialist program that's only going to destroy the country, you know, and
It would
so
be
then they don't,
expensive. Who's going to pay for it?
yeah, who's going to pay for it and la di da, and it's like, so I think as a party and as a group, you know, and we've talked about this in other episodes, but we, you know, educate the public because they don't seem to understand the basics. You know, it boggles my mind that we've gone this far with having Obamacare, and there's still a lot of folks that don't understand the general idea of the policies. You know, and then you explain them, like my dad, for instance. You know, you explain to them the intricacies of it, of the benefits, and oh, they love it. But you know, he spent the last however many years ragging on it. You know, completely oblivious to what it's even about. It's just he's told how to feel about it.
Right. The simple fact is Medicare for All would be a win-win-win-win project. The only losers basically would be the health insurance industry, who are just parasites that cause us to die and waste our money and resources. And as you said before, we could fund retraining for people in the medical insurance industry and get to some real jobs, you know, doing something productive, and we'd all be better off. And Bernie said during his campaign many times, we'd be better off, we'd be healthier just because we didn't have to worry about, just from the stress of worrying about medical care. How many times in Morrison County have I gone into, you know, a supermarket or other business and seen a bulletin board where somebody's having a spaghetti dinner or something to raise money to pay because somebody's got expenses from cancer, leukemia, some other medical disaster. Totally unnecessary. Unnecessary. We could have medical care for everyone and save money.
Yeah, I think we should talk about that. What Basil said, how do we pay for it? You know, and I think that's a great one. And it's been explained before by other politicians, but you know, I think now is a good time to get the idea of taxing the rich. You know, the top 3 Americans right now are set out to pay $0 in income tax this year. And I think that would be the great way to start taxing the rich. Everyone will figure out, hey, it doesn't wreck them. It evens the playing field. The, you know, inequality should be less of a you know, comparison. You know, and right now we could just we could reverse the Trump tax cuts, and there you go. The first 10 years, I think it was 10 years was the number. I might be wrong, but you know, you reverse the Trump tax cuts, and right away you've got it for quite a while. You know, we have 10 times the military spending than the 10 below us, and 8 of those 10 are our allies. You know, so do we need 750 billion in defense funding? Maybe not. Maybe take a little of that, tax the rich, you know, and then
I agree with all those things,
you can do
but you just take the money that we put into Medicare, I mean, to medical care now, and you easily pay for medical care for everyone.
Yeah.
It's the wastefulness of the medical insurance business, which produces nothing, which just is a parasitic leech on our society, sucking the blood and the life out of us. But I agree with taxing the rich. Hell yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things that Bernie said was he wanted to tax billionaires out of existence. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, maybe we should have it to where, like, as soon as you hit $1 billion, you get this big sign that says, congratulations, you win capitalists and you win capitalism, and like name a park after you, you know? And then the rest of your
They
money
do
after
that
that
shit.
goes
They
to
do
the
that shit anyway. They name stuff after
We
this.
already do that. I think we need to stop pretending that people who ask, well, how are you going to pay for that? We need to stop pretending that they actually give a damn about the budget. They don't care about the budget.
Right. They can
Yeah.
they pay for wars and tax cuts for themselves, but when it's
So-
like medical care or education,
It's bags, smack them in the face as they walk. They don't care about the budget. They were just mad at a black guy was president.
Yeah, when I witnessed them pour $2.2 trillion in the CARES Act, like that just said right there, we can just cough up money like for nothing and give it to, and left crumbs for the rest of us. So like, it's like right now there's the 30% of small businesses are shutting down or hurt, or, you know what I mean? Basically non-existent, while Walmart stays open and Home Depot, all these major conglomerates get to stay open while small businesses are restricted, and this, you know what I mean? And so like, why is it, whatever happened to the American dream where you can open a business and you can do, like the cost of living where you can actually do this stuff now, unless you are a billionaire and you own a store, or, you know what I mean, is the only way you can live the American dream. So like, I remember looking at when Teddy Roosevelt was president, they were looking at like how much the wealthy paid in taxes versus the normal person, the working man, and how much the government raked in. And somewhere after he got out, that number changed to where now the working man pays a ridiculous amount of more in taxes to the government than the billionaires, and so
that's
like,
even changed just since the Eisenhower years. You just go back
Yep.
to the Eisenhower administration, the wealthy were paying much, much higher rates of taxation. They've just, for decades, channeled more and more money by controlling the Congress of the United States, channeled more and more money into wealthy, and it's happening right now. And it happens really, frankly, whether there's Democrats or Republicans in there, more and more money goes to the wealthy. And we need to tax them out of existence and take their power away, and power should be with the people.
Yeah, that's and one thing that people don't know about when Bill Clinton was president, was he passed legislation that allowed super PACs to have unlimited amount of money and pour it in. Like before there was all these limits and all of this stuff, but when President Clinton allowed all this funding to start pouring into politics, that's when you really seen the shift of government from when it used to sort of represent the people. Now it's just all special interest. It's all donors. It's all money, and it's all this. And so, like, I think what Bernie Sanders did just this last go round, and even in 2016, he showed that he had the most beautiful economic engine. And it was working class people. Like, what was it, $27 per person per, you know what I mean, that supported him. And he had this economic engine that was just producing cash just because people supported his policies and him, So he showed, I think he laid a template down that if you have policies and the working man can support you, the revenue is there. You don't need the special interests over here to generate your campaign. If you have the people, you know what I mean, you can get out there and you can produce, run ads and pay your personnel and bring in talent and doing all of this stuff like that. And it's just
many
like,
beautiful things about Bernie's campaign. But to go back to the subject of money and paying for things, remember in the last couple of decades, this country has spent trillions and trillions of dollars on war, trillions of dollars to destroy. Imagine if we took trillions of dollars and built the schools and hospitals and medical care system that we need. We should be living lives of relative comfort and health, and with a living planet, instead of facing the destruction of life on Earth as we've known it. It's a society, a ruling class of the society that destroys, and we need to build.
They're leeches.
You know, and you mentioned that, and it always makes me remember that most of that money is all imaginary. So when we spend all these trillions on tax cuts and on the war and all this other stuff, that's all imaginary money. When you look, supposedly the U.S. Mint says there's like $1 trillion of U.S. money in the world. So there's $1 trillion, and the rest is all digital currency. So all this stuff doesn't even really exist. So where are they getting this money from? It's just
It's all
money.
token. It's all token.
It's not the United States money, you know, and they just willy-nilly spend it how they want, and that's how they're deciding to spend it, and that really gets me hot and bothered. But
Money and the nature of money is maybe a topic for
yeah,
For another podcast.
yeah,
whatever the money is. It needs to be more equally distributed.
yeah,
Because money is power. They took those trillions of dollars and they destroyed countries.
yeah.
You know, they destroyed countries. You know, in Iraq, 1 million, 2 million people died. Water systems destroyed. Hospital systems destroyed. Educational system destroyed. That'll affect those people for generations. Libya, really convert a country that had universal education through graduate level university, good access to food, drinking water, good housing, free university medical care, and we bombed it to the point where slavery openly existed in the country.
You know,
Madness.
and to all the folks that say, "Oh, well, it can't be done," I like to remind them too that, you know, we subsidize other countries that actually have Medicare for all. So we subsidize them more than their GDP, and they have Medicare for all. So whenever they say it can't be done, I like to remind them of that.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, anything can be done. If the people had power in this country with our intelligence and our work, our work should accomplish the things that we need, not generating profits for billionaires, we could do anything. And Bernie was clear about that on the campaign trail too. One of the biggest crimes the capitalists commit is letting us think that we can't do these things, that we're less able, less capable than we are, that we're less good than we are, that we're all greedy and ego-driven like them. If we cooperated and built, we could do anything.
Yeah, like one of the issues that I work for is or helped a lot is recovery. You know, the people that are still suffering from active use, and some of these circumstances are pretty dire. You know, we got IV use, you know, like just the violence and just so everything that comes along with substance use disorder. And I help this demographic of people. And one thing I've learned is you have to strike while the iron is hot. If these people reach out for help, like, hey, I want to get help, you have to act right then and there and now. And I hate the very first question that I have to ask when these people reach out for help is, do you have health insurance? And if you don't have health insurance, let's get you signed up for Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever like that, and then wait for you to get health insurance, and then we could take you to detox, then we can get you treatment, then we can get you, you know what I mean, the services that you need to help. And some of these this wait time is a matter of weeks. And with the rate that people die from overdose and all of this stuff like that, we don't have weeks. You know, like we have to strike now. While if they want help, we should be able to provide health care to them right then and there. You know, like cut through all of the bullshit of health insurance and this and that, and let's get them help right now. You know, like, because like they may change their mind within the hour. So like there was one instance in particular where I helped somebody get health insurance and then got them a Rule 25, and the wait was 2 weeks, and this person ended up dying before they got their bed into treatment from a drug overdose. You know what I mean? And so like
Happens all the time.
And it's a common theme. If that's just what I've experienced personally, I know that nationally it's probably even worse. You know what I mean? The numbers of people that that need help but can't get it because they don't have health insurance, or you know, and then not only that, but the demographic of people that don't have health insurance are either homeless or you know, substance use or poverty, or you know, like coming from this demographic subset of people. And this is we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we have a group of people that out there that need services but are unable to get it because they don't have health insurance, then what good is this so-called, like, the greatest nation on earth, the richest nation on earth, but yet you lift that veil up a little bit and you look underneath and you see it, you know what I mean? Like we're there, like it looks like third world country, you know,
It's
like
a dysfunctional, it's a dysfunctional
yes.
nation. I had an extended family member die from overdose, substance abuse. And what I heard at the time was about 10% of people that needed help had access to quality help. But they come up with trillions of dollars for war. It's pathetic and disgusting.
Yeah, and other people in other countries, they just take care of you. I was talking with an old friend from high school, and he said, "Well, if you want that socialist crap, go to Venezuela or whatever." He said. I said, "Yeah, I could, or I could go to England, or France, or Germany, or Japan, or Australia."
Let me interrupt you and tell you that I've been to Venezuela various times, and one time when I was there, I went to a health clinic. I was there with a friend. I just wanted to learn about their healthcare system, and somebody took me in and said, "Well, what do you want to know about our healthcare system?" And I said, "Well, for instance, my friend here hasn't been feeling very well. If he got really sick, would you take care of him?" And he said, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "He's been having a little diarrhea." He put his hand on my friend's shoulder, took him back, saw a doctor, did lab tests, and wrote him a prescription.
Wow.
That's in Venezuela.
And did it cost you anything?
Nothing. The only thing they asked him was his name and how old he was. Not even what country he was from.
Wow. Just to get back to the whether or not we should force a vote, I want to make it clear that if you don't think we should force a vote, that doesn't make you less of a progressive. And Justin Jackson, in his tweet that AOC responded to, said, if they don't force a vote, they're revealing themselves as something. They're not necessarily revealing themselves. They just have a different point of view on tactics. They're no less of a progressive if you don't think we should go through with this. I personally think we should, but
we'll have lots of controversies, and we don't know exactly how to get where we want to go. And we'll have disagreements, and we need to learn to work through them and refine our course of action, but be determined that eventually we have to win these struggles. People need health care. We need a Green New Deal desperately. Future generations need a Green New Deal. Our Earth needs a Green New Deal. We have to do these things, and that means we have to work out our problems. We have to talk. We have to disagree sometimes, and then we have to come to unity.
If you ask me, the time to fight is always now. The time to go for it is always right now. The time to do. Martin Luther King once said, I'm going to butcher this quote, by the way. The time is always right to do the right thing. And if I'm in Congress, I go for it. Just final verdict. Kurt, what do you say?
I agree. I say hold them hostage, force a vote, put her under the fire, and then just sit back and pray that it goes the way we want, and then that we get the votes, and hopefully that sparks some energy nationwide, and everyone follows suit and everything falls into place. That's my hope. And if we hold them up for a vote and it doesn't go our way, I won't lose any respect. I will still gain respect for those individuals that, put it's kind of probably political suicide in a way. and I respect them. I hope that's the way it goes. Yeah.
Larry?
Um, so yeah, I think as progressives, we need to be bold, take initiative. Um, we'll make mistakes, but if our hearts and minds are in the right place and we're trying, we will find ways to move forward. I think it's important to stand up for the things we believe in, and for progressives who've been elected to stand up on the issues that people have elected them for. And Medicare for All is pivotal. I'd just like to quote, you talked about Martin Luther King here. At one point, it was in 1967, said, "We moved into a new era, which must be the era of revolution. We must recognize that we can't solve our problem now until there's a radical redistribution of economic and political power. This means a revolution of values and other things. We must see now that the evils of racism, economic exploitation, and militarism are all tied together. You can't really get rid of one of them without getting rid of the others. The whole structure of American life must be changed." And that's the project that we're really undertaking, to take the power away from those billionaires that we've talked about and have a democratic society in which working people have power and share the fruits of their labor, and then we could live in peace and prosperity and dignity.
So that's a yes?
That's a yes.
That's a yes. Okay. Colin, what do you say?
I guess for me, I'm hanging on the ideal situation. The ideal situation for me to push a vote would be a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic president. And even though it may get shoot down, even in that scenario, I think that's where the lines should be drawn, and that's where the fighting should really be pushed, and that's where like you should convert all your energy. So, but again, the circumstances that come along for progressives, like the time right now with Nancy Pelosi, in order for her to get Speaker of the House, the progressives have leverage, and so these circumstances don't come by very often, and pushing a Medicare for All in this moment for just theatrics, basically, I'm kind of hesitant on it. I'm not for it or against it. It's just like, I'm not going to say, yeah, they need to do this. And I'm not going to say, no, they shouldn't do this. I'm just like, I am just like totally detached from it. And I see both ends of the spectrum, and it's just, whatever they choose to do, I am fine with it. And I'm writing this out, and I'm still going to advocate for Medicare for All. I'm still going to be out here. I'm still going to be a DSA member. I'm still going to be out here doing what I do and organizing and doing whatever, so I'm not keen on the idea, but if they do it, I will root for them, and like what, and if they don't do it, I'm okay with that too,
Yep. So that's all the time we have. Next Monday, we're going to be interviewing Colin Cash. He's going to be talking about Sober Squad, going to be talking about Native American issues, going to be talking about addiction. So tune in for that. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being on here, Colin.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Oh, yes, thank you guys.
See ya.